you everyone for joining our first wellness, RBB Wellness this year event. Kind of excited. We have a good roster of new events that are coming up, and this is one of the ones that I'm excited about. I'm going to introduce you to Katie Doyle. She is the president of Bloomburst. She's also a wellness advisor, yoga instructor, and a health coach. And I'm very excited about today's managing your tech. I hope this allows you to have more of this less stressful time by understanding how to work with your computer and other stuff, other electronics. So with that, Katie, please start if you can.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm happy to be here, connect with some fellow faces, some familiar faces, and thanks for having me. So yeah, today we're gonna talk about managing your tech, and it's not rocket science, but it's certainly something that we probably all need to take a look at, our usage. Obviously this past year has been very different than the years before, so we can acknowledge that before we even get started. Technology is a wonderful tool that's done awesome things for us. We wouldn't even be connecting right now if it wasn't for it. So we're grateful and all of that, but we're going to look at our usage. We're going to look at, some positive stuff with our technology, some negative side effects, and then we're going to put together a little plan to take away with you as far as taking a hard look at, the amount of hours you spend on your technology and how you want to balance that out to live a healthier, happier life. So Benny already introduced me. I'm not going to reintroduce myself. It's nice to meet all of you. So I'll just go over some best practices for today's session. So I ask that you turn your phone on silent, you can close out your email or turn your notifications off. If you hear that any dings, right, you're going to be pulled to your technology. You're going to want to look at it. It's just what we do. So give this session your full attention. It's a small part of your day. And just have a paper and pen nearby. We're going to do an exercise later. So if you need to grab something, I'd prefer you use old school paper and pen versus your phone. That way we stay off our technology just for a little bit longer. So the way this session is going to work is I want it to be interactive. So if you ever have a question, a thought, go ahead and just unmute yourself or raise your hand, flag me, put it in the chat box. We'll always have time at the end for questions, but if there's anything that comes up, I don't want to just be talking at you the whole time. So please feel free to ask questions, jump in, tell me about your experience. But let's get centered first, because we probably all are coming off of doing something this morning, and it's nice to start these sessions kind of with a fresh mind and kind of getting yourself balanced before we begin. So we are going to sit up wherever you are, nice and tall, and ground your feet on the earth. You can kind of settle in here if you want to sway from side to side, and then close your eyes. And then once you get there and your eyes are closed, allow yourself to relax. So see if you can let your shoulders just melt away from your ears. Relaxing through your entire face, relaxing through your jaw. And we'll begin to become aware of your breath, turning your attention inward. Take an inhale through your nose, a long, deep inhale. And exhale out through your mouth. Long cleansing exhale. Let your shoulders relax. Take another inhale through your nose. And a long exhale out through your nose this time. And continue to breathe in this rhythm. Deep inhale through your nose. And deep exhale through your nose. And allowing yourself to be in this present moment, giving yourself this gift of this next few minutes, this next hour of your day. Not thinking about anything that happened earlier and anything that needs to happen later, just allowing yourself to be right here. And as you hold here, focusing on your breath, just see if there's any part of your body that is holding tension or tightness. And just letting it go, asking it to relax just a little bit more. And take a few more rounds of breath here. And see if you can slow down your breath and let your thoughts just gently release your thoughts, not letting yourself follow any thought down a path, just staying right here. And when you're ready, slowly and gently opening your eyes, coming back into this room around you. Let's all take one big stretch together. So inhale, sweep your arms all the way up. Gazing up and looking up, getting nice and long and tall. And then exhale, bring your hands all the way down. Awesome. Okay, we're centered. We're ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question before we jump into the material. So I would like you all to drop in the chat box the number of hours that you think you spend on technology per day. And I know work is going to factor into that, and that's something that's necessary. But think about all the time you spend on your technology. So your computer, your phone, streaming TV or programs, all that kind of time. Okay. Awesome. Seems like everyone is around the 12 to 14 hour mark. Yeah. Okay. All right, thanks for sharing. So we're gonna actually kind of break down your time spent on your technology later on, but it looks like the average is about 12 hours. Okay, cool, which is half your day. All right, so I am gonna share my screen and we'll get into this presentation. Okay. All right, awesome. So let's talk about, first we breathe, we already breathed. So let's just talk about some facts here, right? It's good to always kind of know where we're coming from, what our average is as far as Americans, you know, how much time we spend online. So we're more connected than ever. 28% of American adults now report that they go online almost constantly. That's up from 21% in 2015. And adults with mobile connectivity, which is, I think, all of us, we're especially likely to be online a lot. Among mobile internet users, 86% of Americans who use the internet at least occasionally. Sorry, people are popping into the session, so I'm hitting admit as I speak. Using a smartphone, tablet, or other mobile device. 92% go online daily, and 32% go online almost constantly, which is, I mean, almost constantly is a crazy thing to think about. 81% of Americans go online on a daily basis. I don't think that's a surprise at all. I'm actually surprised the number's not higher. But this is interesting. So the average American spends 3 hours on social media every day, as much as 11 hours per day reading, listening, or interacting with media. So I think we all probably are right around that mark. I think that's pretty average. So let's talk about the positive side of all of this rapidly advancing technology, because it's not all bad news. Like I said, we're here right now during a global pandemic. It allows us to work from home. We can acknowledge all the positive it's brought to our life. Our kids can, you know, be e-schooling. We can connect with telehealth, our doctors. We can use really awesome devices and apps to track our diets, our sleep, our exercise. It allows us to have easier and faster communication. So we can perform our jobs remotely. We can boost our business. You know, just, I mean, I think every day I probably say, let me Google that like once or twice. So we can get statistics where before it could have taken us a really long time to gather those facts. And then also we have new ways, new avenues to promote our businesses and market our businesses. So we can certainly acknowledge that there's all this positive side to all this technology. And really what today is about is it's managing your tech, right? But it's finding that balance. So taking a good hard look at maybe you have gotten a little bit out of control with your usage and you want to scale it back. And that's really what we're here for today. So some side effects of overuse. Screen time is best in moderation, as is most things in life. And I don't know if anyone has experienced this, but particularly eye strain, blurred vision, dry eyes, headaches. It is definitely a side effect of being on our technology too much. Also poor posture, neck, shoulder, back pain, pain in fingers, thumbs, wrists, carpal tunnel. I think there have been many a days where I realize that texting or emailing on my phone makes my hand hurt, so I have to put it down. Sleep problems. This is a new thing we're seeing. So it's been proven that the blue light that is emitted from our devices disturbs our circadian rhythm. There's a whole world of advice out there as far as what you can do to eliminate this. You know, you can buy something as easy as blue light blocking glasses. I have a couple pairs. I keep one pair on my nightstand. I keep one pair on my desk, one pair in my work bag. That helps, they say, with eye strain and sleep problems because it blocks that blue light, but also turning off your technology a few hours before bed is recommended. Also a side effect is reduced physical activity, which we know can lead to a whole host of health issues, obesity, cardiovascular disease. And of course, heavy social media consumption can cause certain feelings. Not everyone feels this way, but certainly it can lead to that comparison mindset. I think everyone has probably felt this throughout their life on social media. It can lead to depression and anxiety. And of course, it's not going to be the case for everyone, but it certainly is the case for a fair amount of people. So I'm going to ask anyone right now if they'd like to share any thoughts they have on consumption. Like, does anyone feel like they have felt any of these symptoms before, like eye strain, headaches, comparison when it comes to social media? Have you found that maybe you're not as physically active as you used to be, particularly during this pandemic, because you're just so pulled in by your devices? Tension headaches. Yeah. So same. So Liz shared that she has tension headaches if she spends too much time on the computer. And yeah, it's a really real thing. And sometimes, unfortunately, if you have to be on your technology for work, you know, like those glasses I mentioned, those are a big help. Blurry eyes. Yep. Same. And a lot of times doctors tell you there's not much they can do about it. If if you're on your computer and you need to be on your computer, poor posture. Yeah. Oh, your dry eyes. Okay. Yeah. So this is all, I mean, these are all side effects. And so yes, for work, we have to be on our technology, particularly right now. But there are most likely opportunities for all of us to cut back on our technology usage in our personal time. So that's something to look at today. Poor posture, absolutely. I think we all probably catch ourselves doing like this thing where our shoulders are up and we're rounded. That is something to be mindful of. We'll talk about that in a little bit too, like some tips, some tricks. Just off the top of my head, a standing desk. I don't know if anyone has a standing desk. I have a desk that can go back and forth. So you can make it standing and you can make it sitting. And that has been super helpful. And there's all different kinds of chairs you can buy and all that kind of stuff, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So how much is too much screen time? It's not a one size fits all. It's different for everyone, but it is recommended that adults and teens should limit their usage to 2 hours per day. That's outside of work time. So that's just your personal time. Obviously your work time is going to be a little bit different. So here are some signs that you might be leaning a little too heavily on your technology. Your family or friends complain about your tech use. You've neglected relationships in favor of technology. So maybe it's interfering with your personal relationships, with your work relationships. It has interfered with your work. So if you find yourself mindlessly scrolling, I think a lot of people do. That's something to think about. if you're losing sleep or skipping physical activities because you're on your technology. And also if it's causing stress or anxiety and you're noticing physical side effects, like the things we just mentioned, tension, headaches, eye strain, overuse injuries such as carpal tunnel. But again, that's something to think about when it comes to work versus personal. So here are some ways to cut back on screen time, and we'll dig into this a little bit deeper and make this more individualized for you in a little bit. But a really easy tip is clear your phone of non-essential apps. So maybe you don't have the social media on your phone. I understand that maybe for client stuff that you might need to, so that's something to think about, but maybe you disconnect your personal accounts, your personal social media accounts from your phone. Turn some of your television time, or if you like to sit down at the end of the day and watch TV, into activity time. So at least block out 20 minutes to be active versus just plopping down and watching something on TV. Keep your electronics out of the bedroom. And I think we've all been hearing this for the past few years. But if you are worried about overusage, maybe it's something to consider now, placing your phone in the other room to charge at night and getting an old school clock next to your bed so you don't have to be tempted to scroll on your phone before bed, but also when you wake up. So if you find yourself reaching for your phone first thing when you wake up, which I think is pretty normal, giving yourself that space, giving yourself 10, 20, 30 minutes before you go on your phone, before you check emails, before you check social media, let your brain wake up. Maybe you start a new morning routine of journaling or deep breathing or anything else, just sipping your coffee and being really present and mindful. And there's a whole other world too, if you're a parent, as far as managing your children's screen time, and we're not going to get too deep into that today. But I would imagine that with the current situation, kids are spending a lot of time on technology, and as parents, it's a whole other world to manage. So that's something to be mindful of when we're talking about this today. So we already talked about some of these things. Setting media-free times and media-free zones in your home is a wonderful thing to do for the entire family. So maybe your family room from 7 to 8 is free of your technology. Making your mealtime tech-free. I mean, we're all so guilty of sitting down to eat and scrolling on our phones. And I mean, I'll admit it too, I've been very guilty of it. And I do my best now to put my phone on silent and put it in the other room while I eat. So at least you're mindfully eating and you're paying attention to your food and maybe catching up with your loved ones from, all of our busy days. Okay, we are going to do an exercise now. So grab your paper and pen, and we're going to look at some of our daily time spent on technology. And the first thing we're going to do, if you have an iPhone or an Android, it's a little bit different to take a look at your usage. But I'm going to walk you through, and you may already know this, but a lot of people don't. So I'm going to walk you through our settings and how we can look at our daily usage. So if you have an iPhone, grab your iPhone now and go to your settings. And then in your settings, there's going to be a screen time. Does everyone see that? I think, and then I have the Android. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now so I can see all of your faces. Okay, so in your screen time, you're going to see this breakdown, right? Does everyone see like the graph and all that kind of stuff? Okay, cool. So you can see what your daily average is. You can see what it is compared to last week. Then you can click on the see all activity underneath where your graph is, that weekly breakdown. And you can see all of these different things. So if you scroll down, you can see your most used apps, the amount of time spent on them. You can see the amount of time you pick up your phone per day, which is interesting and a little scary. And you can just keep scrolling. You can see all these notifications. So it breaks it down for you, which is really cool. And does anyone have an Android? Because I can talk you through how to find that as well. I'm just looking at your faces now. Okay. Okay. Okay, awesome. So you can see the breakdown. You can see the breakdown of total time used, your daily average. And you can set limits here. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. But I want you to write down the daily average that you spend on your phone per day. So it tells you there right at the very top. So just go ahead and write that down. And then write down any time you spend on your device for work. So we already kind of talked about the amount of time you thought you spent on your devices in general, but think about your daily average work day, the amount of time you're on your technology, and just write that down underneath this daily average from your phone. And then once you write that down, think about the amount of time you spend maybe streaming TV shows or any other content. Think about any type of gaming that you might do, or even something like using your navigation while driving, because it's still screen time. You're still looking at a screen, you're still really connected. Your brain is still processing it in that way. So just, I mean, obviously it's going to be an estimate, but just write that down as well. And then add all those numbers up. So the screen time from your phone, the time that you spend on your technology at work, personal technology usage time. And it may be similar to the number that you put in the chat box at the beginning of the session. It may be a little bit different. So just taking a look at that number. And so being honest with ourselves about our technology usage, like thinking about any time during the day that you feel like you are using your technology when you should be or want to be doing something else. Do you feel that it's hindering time that you want to spend in physical activity? Do you feel like it's hindering time where you want to spend in your personal relationships, or maybe doing a creative project so you're fueling your mind in another way? So just thinking about that for a moment. Because ultimately it's up to us, right? It's up to us to take the actions that we want to live the daily lives in our best way. So thinking about that just for a moment. And then I don't know if anyone has done this, raise your hand if you have, but has anyone set screen time limits on your phone? Like actually done that? Okay, Liz. Okay. Okay, cool. I think 2 people have done that. Awesome. So I have, and it's been helpful because I think what happens to a lot of us, and we have to be on our devices, right? Like you work for a communications company, PR, social media. I mean, you have to check your accounts for your clients. You have to be connected, all that kind of stuff. You have to interact. But I bet there's a lot of time when you're not doing any of that and you're just scrolling, right? And you catch yourself and you're like, wait a minute, it's been like 20 minutes of me scrolling. And I mean, you could have done like a 20-minute yoga class or a 20-minute walk outside or something, you know what I mean? Like these are things we could be doing. So because I recognize this in myself this past year, you can set limits for yourself. So in that same setting where we just were, there is, it says app limits. It is a little orange box with a little timer on it. And you can set limits for all of your apps. So you can click, you can toggle over that app limits bar, and then you can go into all your different apps and you can select your limit. And you can obviously change this for yourself. Like no one's gonna make you listen to this. But what it will do is, for instance, for me, I set up social media. So social media is necessary, I need to be on it, but I certainly don't need to be consumed by it all day, every day. So I set up 1 hour every day, I'm allowed to be on social media. So I chose Instagram and Facebook. What will happen is, anytime you set that limit on your app, and so you can do that right now while we're on this call, because it'll set you up for success later. A little thing will pop up and it'll say screen time notification. It'll block you from the app, and then you can hit ignore, right? It's an option, you're in control, or you can listen to it, because now it's going to actually trigger you to think, okay, I spent X amount of time on these apps today and I don't need to spend any more time. So that's something to think about. And so go ahead right now. I'm going to give you a moment. Does anyone have questions like how to get to that point on your phone? Or are you all there? You're all there? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a great way to make yourself accountable. It's a great way to have that trigger, like, wow, I spent too much time here today. I'm going to listen to the phone. Maybe you're working on something and you have to ignore the limit, but it certainly helped me create a more balanced relationship with my technology. Okay. I'm going to just let you guys take a moment. And then if you have any like questions about that, please let me know right now if you feel like you're lost in your settings.
I have a random question, actually. So I tried to do National Day of Unplugging this past weekend, and something that I still haven't turned back on are some of my social media notifications. I've had Facebook off for years, but Instagram I've become a lot more active. So I realized that I just noticed compared to this week and last week, it's like night and day on the time that I've spent, and I think the notifications have something to do with it. So I'm just wondering, do you have recommendations on what notifications we turn off, or do you think for the most part we should keep our notifications off?
Right. So that's interesting that you just said that. So again, everyone's different. Everyone's life is individualistic. So you have to look at that. But certainly if you have your notifications turned on, so say you have, for instance, like you said, Instagram, like if you have notifications turned on that when you get a direct message, you're going to hear that ding. Like that ding to us, I don't know if anyone's watched The Social Dilemma. A lot of you probably have. I mean, it is like kryptonite. Like we already hear it and we're just going to go to it. Even if it's not even interesting, if we don't have anything to, I mean, you know, it could be a meme that your friend sent you and next thing you know, you're pulled out from the task that you're working on and all of a sudden you're on Instagram. So, I mean, yeah, ultimately for a better balanced life, I mean, turning off your notifications is best because you're not going to be pulled out of everything you're doing because you hear that certain sound. I think some people have a harder time doing that than others. But yeah, I think, and it's great that you did that and now it's working for you. So do you think you'll stick with that moving forward?
Yeah, I think because I was starting to let Instagram become a little too much. And it was just a constant stream of it. I want to say after about 3-4 years, I finally turned my email notifications off for work because we get a lot of Google alerts and newsletters and things that aren't important. So that one I manually go in and I check it so that I'm not constantly checking it every 5 minutes. Although I have gotten into the habit of it, I don't know if anyone else experiences it, but it's like your finger automatically when you just have a moment of stasis or, you know, you just have a downtime, like your finger automatically opens it. So I'm trying to get better about not doing that. It's like my finger either goes to like Facebook or the email before I even have a chance to think about what I've done.
Yes, right. I mean, it is so highly addictive. It's crazy. And you're absolutely right. When you have, so for instance, you're at a red light and what would you do with yourself if you didn't have your phone? Like you would just sit there and you would look around you, or I don't know, maybe you'd start thinking about something or planning your day or thinking about your grocery list. But instead you're on that phone and your finger's just going, and it's probably going to email, to any of your preferred social media, whatever that might be, Facebook, Instagram. I'm obviously older, so I don't know, maybe you're into TikTok or whatever your thing is, but you're going to find that happening, and it's being aware. So that's why we're talking about it today. Like it's truly being aware. You've got to hold yourself accountable, right? No one's going to be next to you telling you not to do that. Well, maybe every now and then, but not all the time. And then making an effort. So instead of picking up your phone, just to randomly pick up your phone, and driving's a really good way to start because you're kind of doing something, but there's going to be a little bit of downtime. And you're going to notice, like if you get in your car today or tomorrow to drive, that anytime you have a moment, you're like looking at the phone. And there's really nothing you need to be looking at. I mean, most of the time, none of us have emergencies we need to be checking on. I mean, yes, emails are important. Getting back to people are important. Benny, did you have something to say?
Yeah, you know, what I've tried to do is, because when all this started in the beginning, driving was a big problem. I always picked up the phone. I got a text. It was kind of like a strange, almost like an addict. But what I do now completely, when I get in that car, I don't touch that phone, not even at a red light. And I've really made an effort to do that because it's not really necessary. There isn't really a need. And it's a way of really managing that because it's too stressful. And I've gone to close calls because of it, you know, and it's
Definitely. Yeah. It is not worth it. I mean, how mad would you be at yourself if you rear-ended someone because you were doing something on your phone? And that's just best case. Like, you could hurt someone, you could hurt yourself or someone else, especially in Miami. There's always so much going on the road. But what I would say is it's a really good place to start when you're in your car, because you will find yourself grabbing for that phone, like Benny said, kind of like an addict, and you can correct it really quickly, because it's going to be very obvious that you're in your car grabbing for your phone. And so next time, instead of grabbing for the phone and just mindlessly checking anything, why don't you just breathe? That's a good place to start. So just like taking a few deep breaths, just like we did at the beginning of this session, really noticing your breath. I mean, like, just really noticing each inhale and each exhale, and maybe noticing like the trees around you or the cars next to you, just being mindful. Like, so that whole mindfulness thing ties back to everything. So being mindful while you drive and taking that space. And then you'll notice that your mind is a little bit more calm and still, and that's always a good thing. So I challenge you to do that with your driving. It's something I've been practicing for many years. Sometimes I'm really good at it. Sometimes I fall off the wagon, you come back to it. It's definitely good practice to have. And it's pretty much, better for everyone on the road, because we're also distracted all the time.
Just one other small thing.
Yeah.
You know what I do a lot, and I love it because I'm from the MTV time where the videos were very entertaining. When I drive, I love to play music, and I create my own video driving. So depending on the song, you look around, whether it's a bird or people in the corner or something, I get entertained that way versus trying to get so into this phone thing, So that's one way I do it.
That is a really good point. Go ahead.
No, I was saying I love that. So Benny.
That is a really good thing to do, though, to really enjoy what you're doing at the time. So maybe you put on, your favorite Spotify playlist, whatever your thing is. Maybe you put on your favorite podcast, and then you put the phone down, you put it on silent so you don't get the notifications. And then you just let yourself be there with whatever you're doing, like you can listen to an awesome podcast and really learn something and engage in it. But if you're listening to the podcast and you're driving and you're scrolling through your phone and you're worried about the email that you just read, I mean, where is your brain, right? It's not there. It's all over the place. Yeah, audiobooks and podcasts when driving. Yeah, Audible. There's so much good content out there, right? So it's just making that choice to be more present, that choice to put the phone down, all those kinds of things. And you'll start to notice too, I'm sure we've all had those days or weeks where your brain is just like almost spinning out. You know what I mean? Like, you're going from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. And if you're not able to focus on that one task, because we truly can't multitask. We think we can. We usually make mistakes when we multitask. We usually see that something really wasn't up to par. Maybe there was a typo. Maybe you put in the wrong email address. That's what happens when your mind is just all over the place. If you can focus, that's for the best for everyone, for yourself, for your work, for your loved ones. So all that being said, let's talk about your healthy tech usage plan. So this is going to be something that you write out right now, so have something to walk away from this session with. I'm going to share my screen one more time just so you can see what I'm talking about. But I want you to use the same paper that you wrote down your hours on. So the amount of hours that you are guesstimating that you spend on your technology every day, personally and professionally, and then setting a goal. So being really honest with yourself, like, is there a way for you to not spend so much time in technology? And if there is, what does that look like? So maybe now you're spending an average of 15 hours a day on technology. So maybe you want to take it down to 13 hours. And with that extra 2 hours, what do you want to do? Do you want to spend time outside? Do you want to spend time, maybe you like to draw or paint or any creative endeavors that you feel like maybe have suffered because of technology, which certainly happens for most people. So think about what your usage is currently, that number that you wrote down, and what you'd like to get to, what you feel like would be a healthier balance for yourself. And just write it down, write down your goal. Like, daily tech usage is 12 hours. So it's 13 hours left, 3 hours less than what you're currently doing. So write that down, be specific, You can even write something as specific as, I want to cut my personal daily screen time in half and spend 20 minutes every day outside moving my body. We live in Miami. I'd say like 95% of the time we can be outside doing something, you know? So fresh air is so good for us. Spending time in nature is so good for us. There's actually this concept, and I talk about it often because it's something that has brought a lot of joy and positivity to my life, but it's essentially this kind of new concept called the nature pill. So instead of, you know, sometimes we need some medication to help us, but if you're feeling a little down or you're feeling like you need a positive boost for your day, just stepping outside and connecting with nature. And by nature, I mean, if you live in Brickell and you can go stand by the water and touch a tree, you know, that's nature. If you live somewhere where you can put your toes in the grass, that's even better. That's nature. But just taking that time to be outside, to breathe the fresh air, to feel the elements, to feel the wind and the sun on your skin is so healing. So that's just my little PSA for nature. Okay, so setting your goal. So you wrote down the amount of time you want to cut out of your tech usage daily. And then identifying your support system. So maybe it's someone that's on the call today. Maybe it's like your work bestie and you're like, I know that I can call Tina and be like, Tina, I'm off the rails with my technology usage and I need your help. And she can be like, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable. So having an accountability partner is huge, you know, like it's not just you doing this on your own. So write down anyone that you think would be helpful, that you can like take a photo of these new goals and send to them and say, can we like check in weekly and talk about the progress that I've made or what I'm struggling with. So write down anyone, at least 2 people that you feel like you can count on for accountability. And then once you have these 2 people, creating some action items. So what specific steps would lead to this goal? And you can break these down into smaller steps. So it might be setting those limits on certain apps that you know are heavily used on your phone, but they're also kind of like that time suck for you. It could be committing to putting your phone away every night at X time, you know, whatever works for your life. Maybe it's 8 p.m., maybe it's 10 p.m., but finding that time that you know would work for you. Maybe it's committing to not having your phone in your room at night and getting that alarm clock. Maybe it's making dinner your tech-free zone so you can talk to your kids and your significant other or whoever that you live with. So just writing down at least 3 concrete action items. And you can even assign a due date to these action items. You can even put it in your Outlook calendar or whatever calendar that you use and say, you know, by Friday, I'm going to do XYZ. I'm going to have alarm clock ordered. It's, you know, you can go to Amazon and order an alarm clock for probably like $10. And on Friday, I'm going to start leaving my phone out of the bedroom every night. So just writing down a due date for these action steps. And so nothing's too small or too big. I mean, everyone has a different goal in mind. So just really being honest with yourself, because if you really follow through these action steps, then you're going to find you're going to have a better balance in your life. And maybe you want to start with what we were talking about, like on your car rides, you don't pick that phone up when you're at a red light and you focus on the here and the now and the present moment. And thinking about your accountability partner. So this is just one more step holding yourself accountable. Write down when you could speak to this person. So maybe this person is someone that you could call after this call and just say like, will you hold me accountable over the next 4 weeks to cut back on my tech usage? And last but not least, give yourself something to work toward. So rewarding ourselves is key. I mean, making changes is always hard. So thinking about like, okay, so 4 weeks from now, you've set these new limits and you've stuck to them. And obviously every day is going to be different. If you fall off the wagon one day, that's okay. You're human. Just come back to it. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's better to have a bad day and the next day come back and make sure you're keeping that balance than to just fall off the wagon and never come back to it. So what would you want to reward yourself with? So some of us want to reward ourselves with like a special meal or anything that feels good to you, like a massage, a yoga class, your favorite bottle of wine, your favorite ice cream. Like what is that thing that's going to like be that thing that kind of makes you keep going when it feels hard to you? So just write down one reward you would give to yourself for cutting back on your usage and sticking with your goals. And then I always like to ask if anyone would like to share. So does anyone feel like they want to share the goals they've set for themselves, if they've recognized that your tech usage has gotten a little out of control and you want to cut back?
I'll share. I think my major problem, like my phone usage is only at like 2 hours and almost 30 minutes a day. So I feel like that has definitely, since I have started working and left kind of like college and I'm not on the apps like TikTok or any of those, I find my usage to be pretty low that I honestly am happy with. But I do find after work, the first thing I want to do is just sit and watch TV because I'm so exhausted and I just don't want to have conversations with anybody. I just want to like relax and decompress, but then that ends up me watching, I think, too much TV. And growing up, I didn't watch TV during the week at all. I wasn't even allowed. So I think that kind of is killing a lot of me wanting to go for a walk after work or spending more time with my dog outside. Instead, I'm like, and I think it's one of those things where I need to push myself because I am tired and I don't have the energy to do it. But it's all about the routine. And if I can try and push myself to do that more, maybe I will get the energy back or I'll get used to that routine and feel more comfortable and it'll be easier to get off the couch straight outside. But right now my total usage is 13 hours. I want to do 2 hours less. So I definitely, like my boyfriend, I live with him. He would be my support system more than anything because we're together almost 24/7 now. We're all remote. And especially who you hang out with the most or who you're going to adapt the habits of. So if I can push him to kind of do this with me, and as soon as we turn off our computers for work for the day, go outside, take our dog out. That's one of them. Walk after work, turn off the TV by 10 p.m. because when I'm watching a good show, I want to stay up later, and then that makes me tired when I get up early. And we found ourselves recently eating dinner while watching TV. So that's the third thing is going to be cooking. I like watching TV because no one's bothering me. But then as soon as we sit down to eat, TV's off. And I think checking in kind of every morning because we have to push each other to hold each other accountable and remind each other why we're doing it. And then for reward, I haven't thought that one through yet, but I'm thinking it'd be either a good meal or maybe I'll buy my something jazzy on Amazon. So
Good. Yeah, I mean, all those things that you said are probably so relevant to a lot of our lives. And I do think this is a really good point. We talked about this at the beginning of the session is right now, there's not a lot of clear boundaries between work and personal life because you're working from your home. So there's not even like, okay, you left, you went to the office, you came home, there's just that time to decompress. So creating that routine, like you, and it was perfect what you said at the end of the day where your computer goes away and then you leave the house, you take a walk. And then that creates that really like clear boundary and that delineation between work time and personal time. And that is so important for all of us right now because it can just all blend together and it's 10 o'clock at night and you're watching TV and you're working on something for, on an email or a project, and then it's all just a blur and you don't have that time to give back to yourself. And it's so important to do that. So taking a walk is always a wonderful way to do that. And people think too, like, oh, I have to spend an hour a day working out or meditating or doing yoga or walking. And you don't. I mean, that's wonderful if you have that time, but 10 minutes is better than nothing. I mean, if you can scroll on Instagram for 10 minutes, you can certainly go outside and at least move your legs a little bit, so
thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone else want to share anything that came up for them, anything about their plan? Yes, Laura.
I share?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for my plan, it was a little bit difficult, and something that I wanted to mention that I think maybe a lot of people are struggling with is having multiple screens on at the same time. So like my hours on my phone overlap with the hours that I'm watching TV or listening to music, because I feel like I always have to be stimulated with some type of technology. So I'll be like on my couch with TV going, not even watching it because I'm on my phone looking at something. So I want one of my objectives to be more mindful. And so if I'm consuming media, to focus on that and enjoy it instead of it just being like a background stimulation all the time. And then I'd also like to not be using my phone like before bed or even in the shower. Sometimes I'll like be on my phone, which is crazy.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely cutting back before bed, after waking up, and then like in between cooking and showering and everything. And then I think for my reward, I would like to treat myself to doing like a day outside. So like I'm actually not in Florida, I'm in Maryland right now. So enjoying nature and being outdoors and rewarding myself by disconnecting, I think would be really exciting.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to leave your phone at home. Like, not, look, if you have children or certain life circumstances, but I mean, if you're going to go on a neighborhood walk, leave your phone at home. You don't need it. I mean, we think we do. We all are guilty of it, but we don't. I mean, 20 minutes away from that phone, like not touching your body, not being there, is so beneficial to us. So try that next time. Just as long as you're safe, leave it at home. It'll be there for you when you come back to it. You might even forget about it, which is a really wonderful feeling when you forget about that technology. So, and yeah, leave it out of the shower. You don't need it in the shower. I can promise you that. Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, definitely reward yourself. Like our phones are addictive. Our technology is addictive, and they're tools. We need them. So it's a weird, balance to find. We need to respect it. We need to love it. We need to appreciate it. And we also know we need to leave it sometimes. We need to focus on other things in life. So does anyone else want to share anything? Questions, comments?
I have a question comment. So I was actually thinking about this. So I feel like we're talking a lot about what we can be doing during outside work hours. And this is something that I've been contemplating because my focus analytics and Outlook keeps telling me you answer emails too quickly. And I feel like that stops me when I'm getting better at time blocking like deep work sessions so that I can actually do it. Because otherwise you keep getting meetings put on your calendar and then you're like, when am I actually going to do the work that needs to get done, right? Or I owe someone feedback by a certain point in time. So something that I was thinking about doing, I haven't yet pulled the trigger on it because I'm nervous, is it keeps suggesting close your Outlook and then check your email once an hour.
Yes.
And I don't know. So I don't know if anyone else has 2 cents or does that. I see Jen laughing. She's like, I don't know if I could do that. Right. It's because we're so used to kind of being accessible, being able to respond. Like it's a sign of like a good worker. But at the same time, I've reached a point where I live alone. I'm in Brooklyn. This pandemic is great, but I don't really have I have cats to distract me. I don't have like another human body or someone that I can just, take a moment to disconnect with. Yeah. So email is almost becoming a little bit more cumbersome to me because of that. So I'm just curious.
Really good point. And
Liz, I had that debate. I was doing a productivity session and I had that debate with the person because what I realized as I went through it, probably about 70 to 80% of what I do every day are things that come in over the transom. So I feel like I can't turn it off because the nature of our business is such that I was not comfortable doing that yet.
Right.
But I don't know. If you figure it out, let me know.
I might do some tests and see, like maybe it's, every 45 minutes, because I do find that I keep, I might be reviewing social media content or I might be doing that and I keep getting distracted. So I'll stop and I'll be answering something and then it takes you a hot second just to get back into what you're doing.
Well, do you have does it bing every time it comes in?
No.
Turn on, because that's what I turned that off a long time ago. So I don't get the audible from it, because there's just too much that comes in. It's all day long. You'd be binging on your phone and your computer. So I turn those off, but I still live in Outlook.
Right.
So
It's
to
always
speak.
up. Like it never gets closed. So
Right.
that's kind of, still debating on that one.
Well, and Liz, I think I told you this years ago, but that's horrible for productivity. You don't need to answer every email or now Teams or now, if something's really important, someone will text you or call you.
That's actually, you know what, you're right. You were the one who told me that years ago, and I do kind of subscribe to that. Like in the mornings, you know, some people check their emails immediately, like during their morning coffee. And I've noticed, and I kind of have set some expectations with my team, that if something's an emergency, like don't email me, you call me, you text me, so that then I know. So I'm not, you know, otherwise we're constantly going into that after, and I know Outlook keeps telling me, stop looking at your emails during quote unquote quiet hours. So it's like, I feel like Microsoft Outlook scolds you a little bit, and you're like trying to find a solid balance there.
Right. And there's going to be times where there's floods of email, because that's when certain people, that's when maybe other folks that you work with, whether people you manage or your managers, they've said this is their time to answer email. But I never expect someone to answer me right away unless I say I need an answer. But, you know, and most people put a time in if it's urgent when they need an answer. So it's setting those expectations. And I don't think we've ever dinged anybody on a review for not answering an email within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
What I try to do is, you know, if you're focused on something, especially creative, I try to finish what I'm doing before I go and answer anything, because that way you're focused and you're doing your best at one thing versus trying to answer and come back and do all of it. It just doesn't help. Another thing, if you guys have an iPhone, the Health app has a sleep option where you can set it up that it'll remind you at a certain time to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing to actually, you know, prepare you so you just stop using all your social phones and tech. So try to check that out. It really has a beautiful, like a reminder sound, like to go to sleep. And that's what kind of like makes me, you know, schedule myself.
It's a good,
Speaking of
tip. Yeah.
Speaking of scheduling, if I may, one thing that I often my favorite feature in Outlook to use is actually scheduling emails, which not every platform allows, but Outlook does. Because what I found is helpful is if I'm working on something and I want to sort of set everything off to a certain side, it gives me a chance to sort of do them all in either in bulk or at different times. So it also comes to people at respectful hours. So if someone gets back to me on something, and or I need to get back to them on something, you know, if I finish it at 5:55, I'll schedule it for 9 in the morning the next day, you know, so that it comes out at the right time. So it's respectable of my time and also of other people's time.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a wonderful tool to use in Outlook, the scheduling tool, and is being respectful of people's time. And the other thing, Liz, I was going to say was, when it comes to your email, if you feel comfortable blocking off some time to close your Outlook and just focus on any task in front of you, you can put an out of office that just says, like, right now I'm focused on whatever. You can make it cute too, you know, you can make it very creative, and just say, if you need an immediate response, please text or call me, you know, let people know, like, I'll be responding to emails by 3 p.m. today, right? So you're giving yourself that time. Everyone's aware. And if it's an emergency, they'll text or call you. And that's a good way to do it. Some people like to block that time. Like, they only respond to emails at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 3 p.m. So they have all that time to be productive. And again, it's obviously case by case, depending on what your job is, you know, your team, your manager, all that. Thank you, Tina. I can see your cat behind you, Liz, by the way, like on your couch. But yeah, try it out. Like, I mean, if your team is respectful of that and you feel like, you know, your manager is also okay with that, then definitely block out that time, because we're not productive or as productive as we can be when we're swinging back and forth and being pulled out of that really creative, high-level task to answer an email. You know, it's very different to type out a response to an email versus sitting down and putting together maybe like a deck for a client, or editing social media content, or trying to be, I mean, just getting to a creative mind space is a whole process. So if you're going to get pulled out of that by answering an email, it's going to take you a long time to get back to it. So you have to weigh the pros and cons.
And Katie, I'm gonna jump in here. Your manager will be respectful of that, you know, and if that's an issue, then, you know, you can address it, you know, with some of your, you know, direct managers that, you know, that oversee your career. Everybody should feel like they have the ability to do that. And I think we're all, you know, we're all adults. We know when, you know, it's an urgent and it's a matter and there's, you know, no, today is a day we can't take those 2 hours because there's something going on with a given client, right? I mean, I think this is about taking ownership over our own schedule. And I think we all know enough of our own workload. So, but, you know, some of this, you know, I think I've had to learn the lesson really hard way of being stressed out. You know, some of this we have to, you know, do it for ourselves, right? We can't ask for permission to take the time out that we need and put some of Katie's really great strategies in place. But, you know, I think everybody should feel comfortable. You know, it's not if your manager's okay with it, it's just, you know, say, this is what I'm going to, you know, be doing. And if there's an issue, let me know, or I can adjust time accordingly.
Right. No, that's a really great point. Thanks, Janine.
Sorry to jump in. It's almost an hour and I don't want to.
Yes, I know we need to wrap up. I know everyone has lots of things to do with their day, and I like to be respectful of our time. So thank you all for joining. I hope that you were able to take something away from this session. We're able to look at your tech usage, where you can improve, ways you can balance it all out. I hope you take any goals that you wrote down for yourself and try it for 2 weeks. See where you get, you know, go for that walk after work, take that time for yourself, set those limits. Thank you for joining. It was nice to connect with everyone. Have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Katie, thank you. And join our wellness team again with Katie. She's going to talk about quality sleep. And I'll schedule that so you can all join and get more information from Katie. But Katie, thank you so much for your time.
Great job, Benny, and the wellness team also. And thank you, Katie.
Thank you. Nice to meet all of you and see some of you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a great day, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Bye. Can't wait for the next one.
Yes, I look forward to seeing you.
Bye. Thanks, Benny.